are just as good as Fridays.
Oh, shit.
What we saying?
So you said Fridays is better?
Well, you started with that Negro thing? That was like prior in his prime.
And then the other shot at you, you negated him.
I can't respond to everybody that has.
That's the angle you take? Marc Lamont Hill that jumped up to try to fight Queenzflip. You taking the angle of I can't respond to everything?
Marc Lamont Hill versus Flip is far from finished. That's right. The latest episode of the Joe Budden podcast just poured gasoline on a fire that was already blazing. The back and forth between them is still alive, loaded with slide jabs, ego flexing, and both men trying to chip away at each other's credibility piece by piece. The whole thing felt like a duel disguised as dialogue, with each shot getting pettier than the last. And then, Marc kicked things off by pointing out that only one of them is actually married.
It's like, hey, girl, you know, oh yeah, they married, pardon me.
One of us is, yeah.
Both.
Was Marc sliding in a subtle flex that he's the one with the ring while Flip isn't? That hit me instantly, because anybody who follows Flip knows he does not play when it comes to his family. So for Marc to poke at that area, I'm really wondering whether Flip is laughing it off on camera or quietly stacking irritation that's going to blow up later. And right after that tension, the entire pod shifted into a discussion about Marc's interview with Brian McKnight's ex-wife and son.
They said was they respected my platform and my history of giving fair interviews, and so that's why they chose to allow me to do it.
When you try to blow your nose, you got something in your nose.
You good.
This moment split the whole cast because the Joe Budden podcast crew loves to preach about how real content should be created. Marc stepping into interviews with ex-partners and estranged kids completely rattles that fragile content philosophy they swear by. And let's be honest, the Joe Budden squad moves like they're broadcasting from Mount Olympus, judging every other creator from above. It's not just Joe either. Ice jumps in too, always lecturing like, nah, that ain't how you do content. Watching them define what counts as high-value versus low-value content was honestly eye-opening. But Marc looks like he's shifting toward whatever grabs Patreon signups and turns chaos into cash. Still, it was Flip who straight up confronted Marc for poking at Brian McKnight while conveniently sidestepping Anton Daniels.
Pulls me out. I want to sit with them, look them in the eye as a man. And I'm not going to use an excuse about safe spaces. Because safe spaces is subjective.
Flip doesn't hold back, even calling out that Marc has all this fire aimed at him, Flip, while totally ignoring Anton. But I've got a feeling Marc might actually go at Anton, just a vibe I'm getting. Now we have to watch Flip's strategy closely. He's straight up trying to chip away at Marc Lamont, planting the idea, oh, you scared of Anton, huh? And the genius? He's handing Anton ammo to respond to Marc, giving him more reason to strike back. So honestly, I see this as a smart play by Flip. He's stacking pressure on Marc, making him look small, like he only punches down, like a straight-up bully. Of course, Marc fires back repeatedly. You can see he's not letting Flip slice through without retaliation. That's kind of the show's signature. Flip throws shade at folks like Imani or Melissa Ford. But Marc, he's not letting anything slide. One of the ways he hit back was by throwing out that the podcast runs smoother on Fridays without Flip in the mix.
Tuesday's better than Friday. I ain't gonna lie. I do.
Me too.
Friday was lit. I miss Friday.
Flip keeps hammering the point that Tuesday is the weaker version of the podcast. Remember, Joe Budden specifically told Flip to stay off Fridays. You can't help but wonder if Joe wasn't just trying to separate Mona and Flip, but also suddenly limit how much Flip and Marc were interacting. You can really see Flip's nerves at the start of this episode. He kicks off with this odd intro about the Negro Leagues, and it comes off like, yo, I need to grab attention right away because Mona just crushed it. It's almost like he sensed the pod had just delivered one of his strongest episodes in a while. And it wasn't just the fans noticing, even Marc Lamont chimed in on Twitter, praising the episode and saying it was top-notch.
Excited that the last show we did, 882, was so fire, man. That shit was amazing.
You ran the train on the girl?
No.
Oh, I using the coat. I forgot. My fault. I take that back.
Now here's another moment where Flip throws the coat line into the mix. Flip knows exactly how it gets under Marc's skin, and he uses it strategically, not really to attack, but to signal to the audience that Marc once belonged to something heavily judged. People often look at anyone tied to a cult as totally unhinged or shady, even years later. Flip fully understands the weight of that, and Marc definitely feels it. That's why it stings so much. And get this, he's not the only one to bring it up. Imani has thrown Mark's cult involvement into conversations too.
A lot of jokes about Michael Jackson, right? But he was running behind Dr. York all them years. You can't do that. You can't make fun of the man who was accused of when you followed the man who was actually doing it.
Someone else who was kind of going through a bit of a demotion at the Joe Budden Network. It's super telling that both Imani and Flip keep circling back to the cult. They know that's a soft spot for Mark, and as their own relevance dips, that's how they land shots at him. Watch closely because it's clear Mark doesn't enjoy it one bit. Honestly, I didn't even realize Mark had been in a cult until the Joe Budden podcast brought it up. And this is a guy who's been on CNN, VH1, and everywhere else. Wild, right? Could this be a trend where someone joins the show and their personal brand starts to shrink? Just something to keep an eye on. But Mark's clapback was coming, and he delivered it later by joking about Flip booking Sasha.
You booking Sasha? Well, you booked Sasha?
Yeah, I did something with her.
You booked Sasha?
I did a content with Sasha, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dope.
Now, Sasha's the former tender who tried to get in on the Joe Budden podcast, but it was clear it just wasn't a fit. Joe attempted to integrate her, having her sit on the side while chatting with the cast, but it fell flat. Hold up, Mark is using the word booking very strategically here. We all know what he's signaling when he keeps repeating, you book Sasha. Listen, it's a subtle jab at Flip's network moves, letting the audience catch the shade. Anytime Mark talks about Flip's network, it's never exactly flattering. But then again, that's the lens the Joe Budden podcast applies to everyone, except Ice. Ice can start a Twitch channel and flop, and nobody says a word. It's wild. Mark circles back again, bragging how Fridays are the premium day, and Flip says he's pulling up on Friday. Gotta respect the hustle, gang. Mark responds by dapping him up and saying, yeah, son, come on Friday. I'll be here just for you. You can have my spot. Girl, just one of the dangerous moves Flip is playing with. Do not show up Friday. There's practically a restraining order on you for that day. Mark versus Flip isn't over, and Flip is cornered. He's publicly been devalued by his own actions and Mark's shade. His best defense could end up getting him benched from the only day he shows. Imagine he comes Friday and they hit him with, now you miss Tuesdays. Disaster. The real test will be if he actually shows and Joe tells him to bounce. As I said before, Flip's history means his presence could destabilize the show, but only time will tell if he pulls a move that might be his last. This episode was wild. I was shook at how Flip and Mark went at each other. Joe even jokes that the work environment is toxic. It's weird because the podcast feels professional at times but chaotic at others. Every cast move is scrutinized and roasted. It all comes down to each person's respect threshold. Imani has to take the heat, Ice has to take the heat. React wrong and fireworks explode. That's where the drama lives. But next Friday's episode is key. I'm curious if Mona can stay consistent. She's already rolling in 30 minutes late, talking over people. Sure, she nails some hilarious moments, but her long-form convo's suffering because she's unprepared or relying solely on jokes. Let me know in the comments. Did you catch the shots? They were impossible to miss. Tell me what you think. Where do Mark and Flip go from here? I smell another knockdown, drag-out battle, and this one might never hit Patreon.